He slept nude, but what he awoke to left him shocked. The first thing he realized was that he was lying on a smooth, warm surface. He tried to sit up, but the sensation was different from any bed he had known. There were no blankets, no pillows, nothing familiar. And then he noticed something else. He was completely naked. A rush of confusion passed through him, but there was no fear. Only a quiet, curious alarm. He had slept like this, and where exactly was here? The room stretched around him in impossible symmetry. Walls shimmered with soft, silver light. There were no doors or windows, only gentle curves that seemed to float in the air. The space was alive with sound, but not the kind of sound that came from machines. It was soft, humming like a tune from inside the air itself. Elias swung his legs off the surface. His feet touched the smooth floor, but it wasn't cold. The surface responded to his touch, slightly vibrating as if it could feel him too. He tried to speak, calling out, "Hello, is anyone there?" His voice echoed slightly, soft but clear. No answer came. He stepped forward slowly, noticing that every step made a faint light ripple across the floor, like a pond disturbed by a drop of water. As his eyes adjusted, he saw objects floating in the air. Transparent cubes, spheres, and rods rotated slowly, suspended without any visible support. Some of them glowed faintly, while others had symbols etched on them, glowing softly as if trying to communicate. He reached out his hand. A small sphere floated toward him and hovered just above his palm. It pulsed with light, changing colors from blue to green to gold. Elias blinked. Was this alive, or was it just a very strange object? The sphere responded to his touch. When he moved his fingers, it followed, mimicking his gestures. Elias felt a mixture of awe and excitement. He wasn't scared. Something deep inside him told him that this was not a threat but a puzzle he had to solve. He lifted the sphere closer to his eyes and noticed tiny lines running across its surface, like a language he had never seen before. He waved it, and suddenly a screen of light appeared in front of him, displaying images of stars, planets, and swirling galaxies. "What?" he whispered. The images shifted, showing places he had never imagined. Mountains taller than clouds, oceans that glowed with colors he could not name, creatures that seemed like a mixture of plants and animals floating through the sky with grace. His heart raced. This was not Earth, it could not be, and yet he felt a strange connection, as if these visions were calling to him, guiding him to understand. Elias stepped back and took a deep breath. His mind tried to make sense of the impossible. How had he come here? The last thing he remembered was sleeping in his apartment, falling into a deep, dreamless sleep. And now he was somewhere else entirely. His gaze wandered across the room, looking for clues, and then he saw it, a small device no larger than a notebook floating in the air. It had a soft blue light in the center, blinking slowly like a heartbeat. He approached it. As he did, the device moved slightly, keeping a small distance as if it were alive. Then, without warning, it projected a light onto the floor. The light formed shapes, lines, and curves, spinning and connecting. Elias watched, fascinated. It was a language, he realized, not written, not spoken, but visual. The shapes seemed to respond to his movements. When he stepped forward, they shifted. When he waved his hand, they danced. A sudden thought struck him. Perhaps this was a way to communicate. Perhaps these beings, or whatever had brought him here, did not use words, only symbols. He raised his hand carefully and touched one of the spinning lines. The light pulsed and expanded, forming a small map. He looked closer. The map showed countless stars and planets, some glowing brighter than others. One planet was highlighted, pulsing with golden light. Elias gasped. Could that be Earth, or was it something else? His mind raced with questions. Who had brought him here? Why him? And what did they want him to do? His curiosity pushed away the confusion. He wanted answers. He wanted to explore. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke. Not through sound, but directly in his mind, gentle and calm. "Do not be afraid, Elias. You are here to learn, not to be harmed." Elias froze. His heart skipped a beat. He looked around, searching for the source of the voice. There was nothing visible. Yet the words were clear, calm, and welcoming. He swallowed hard. "Learn what?" he asked aloud, almost whispering. "To understand, to create, to see what your mind can do." The sphere pulsed brightly in agreement. The room seemed to vibrate with energy. Elias felt an unfamiliar thrill. He was being given a challenge, one he had never imagined. His mind, sharp and curious, was exactly what this place wanted. He moved further into the room, exploring the floating objects. Each time he touched one, it responded differently. Some glowed brighter, some shifted shape, some even hovered closer, as if trying to teach him. It was like stepping into a world of possibilities, where the rules of reality were soft, pliable, and waiting for his understanding. Hours, or perhaps minutes, he couldn't tell, passed as Elias experimented with the floating objects. He discovered that by moving them in certain patterns, he could create shapes that pulsed with light, forming small holograms of simple structures: a bridge, a tree, a tower. His excitement grew with each success. He realized this place was reactive to human thought. Whatever created it was observing, waiting to see what humans could do when freed from limits. And then, at the far end of the room, he noticed a doorway, or something like it. A thin line of light, barely noticeable at first, expanded slowly as he approached. The air near it shimmered. Elias felt a pull, an invitation to step through, but he paused, wondering if he was ready. Could he go further into this unknown world? He glanced back at the room, the spheres, the holograms. Everything he had touched, everything he had learned so far was only the beginning. Taking a deep breath, Elias stepped forward. The light enveloped him, warm and soft, yet filled with energy. As he moved through it, he felt as if he were walking not just across space, but through a dream made real. Shapes and colors danced around him. His mind raced, trying to process everything. And then, just before the light faded, he saw something that made him stop. Ahead, floating in the middle of a larger chamber, was a gigantic map of stars. Lines of light connected them, forming patterns he had never seen. And in the center, a golden point pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat of the universe. Elias' eyes widened. "What is that?" he whispered. The soft voice returned, calm and clear in his mind. "That, Elias, is a place where the future is waiting, and you more than anyone will see what humans are capable of." For the first time, Elias understood he was not just here by accident. He had been chosen, not because he was strong or famous or powerful, but because he was human, and in this place, being human was exactly what mattered. A thrill ran through him. Curiosity, wonder, and excitement filled every thought. He had no idea what was coming next, but one thing was certain: he was ready to face it. And with that, Elias stepped forward into the light, ready to discover a world, and perhaps a universe, that was far beyond anything he had ever imagined. Elias blinked as he stepped fully into the new chamber. The light shifted gently around him, giving the walls and ceiling a soft, golden glow. The space was much larger than the first room. It stretched in all directions, filled with floating platforms, rotating spheres, and ribbons of light that twisted like dancing streams of water. The air hummed with energy, a constant, soothing vibration that seemed almost alive. For a moment he just stood there, taking it all in. Every instinct inside him told him this place was extraordinary, something humans had never seen before, and yet it didn't feel threatening. It felt welcoming. His mind raced, trying to understand the rules of this strange environment. A gentle pulse of light appeared in front of him, hovering at eye level. It was the same soft, shifting glow he had seen in the first chamber. As he moved closer, it expanded, forming shapes that looked like letters or symbols, but symbols that changed and flowed, almost as if they were alive. Elias raised his hand cautiously. He touched one of the symbols, and instantly it responded, spinning into a new shape and sending out a beam of soft blue light. The beam shot across the room and landed on a floating platform. On the platform, a holographic image of a small, intricate machine appeared. He stepped closer, fascinated. The machine looked like nothing he had ever seen on Earth. Its parts floated independently, spinning gently in the air, connected by thin threads of light. The floating device seemed to react to him, moving slightly closer as he approached. A soft voice spoke in his mind, calm and clear. "Elias, this is your first task. You will learn and you will create. Watch closely and think carefully." Elias nodded, though the voice didn't need an answer. The sphere-like device beside him pulsed, as if approving his willingness to participate. He reached out and touched one of the floating parts. Immediately, it responded, spinning faster and projecting a small hologram of a simple object, a bridge stretching over a glowing river. Elias realized that the floating objects were not only reactive but teaching tools. They could demonstrate shapes and patterns that he could replicate or modify. Curiosity filled him. He moved his hands, guiding the floating parts. The bridge hologram dissolved, replaced by a shimmering tower that twisted and turned in impossible shapes. Elias laughed quietly. His hands felt powerful, yet he was careful, moving slowly, learning the rules of this strange environment. Time passed, though he could not tell how much. Minutes could have been hours, or hours could have been minutes. Each attempt he made produced something new, something surprising. The room seemed to sense his thoughts, reacting to his creativity. A new set of symbols appeared in the air, glowing softly. This time, the symbols were simpler, more like instructions. Elias concentrated, trying to understand. As he moved his hands and arranged the floating pieces according to the symbols, the pieces began to form a larger structure, a small energy sphere glowing softly. The sphere hovered above the platform, spinning slowly. As it rotated, it projected a new map of stars. Lines of light connected distant points, forming constellations that Elias had never seen. One star in particular glowed brighter than the others, pulsing rhythmically. "This is your next step," the voice said. "Observe and then create. You will learn faster than you imagine." Elias studied the map carefully. He realized the stars weren't just random points. They seemed to respond to patterns, almost like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Using the floating parts, he replicated the pattern he saw in the stars, forming a delicate web of light in the air. The sphere responded instantly, its glow intensifying, and the pulsing star at the center shone brighter. He stepped back, amazed. The system seemed alive, like it could recognize his thought process and reward him for insight. A thrill ran through him. He was learning, creating, and exploring, all at the same time. Suddenly, another platform rose from the floor. On it floated a new set of objects, more complex than the first. There were shapes that resembled wheels, levers, and even curved panels of light. Elias approached cautiously, wondering what he was expected to do. "Do not be afraid," the voice said. "All tools are yours to explore. There is no wrong answer, only learning." He touched a floating wheel. It rotated smoothly, projecting a series of shapes in the air. Elias studied them and realized they were parts of a device he could assemble. Slowly, carefully, he began to connect the floating pieces. Each time a piece fit correctly, it pulsed with light and moved slightly closer to completion. Hours, or perhaps only moments, passed in a blur of focus. Elias lost track of time. He experimented with shapes, combinations, and sequences. He realized that this chamber was teaching him more than just how to assemble objects. It was teaching him to think creatively, to anticipate patterns, and to solve problems in ways he had never tried before. At one point, he paused and looked around the chamber. Every object, every light, every floating symbol seemed to respond to him. It was as if the room itself were alive, observing him, encouraging him, guiding him. And yet he felt no pressure, only the excitement of discovery. A new image appeared in front of him, larger than any before. It showed a complex structure, floating in space, made entirely of light. Elias realized it was a device capable of moving energy from one point to another. He understood immediately that this was the goal of his training, to create a device that could interact with energy in ways humans had never imagined. He studied the pieces carefully. Each component had its function, its place. Using the floating objects, he began to assemble the device, moving parts with precision and care. The pieces responded to his thoughts and movements, forming a perfect, glowing structure. "Well done, Elias," the voice said softly. "You are learning quickly." But there is more to understand. Creativity is only part of what makes humans extraordinary. Elias smiled. I understand," he whispered. He felt a new sense of purpose growing inside him. He was not just playing with objects. He was being trained, tested, and encouraged to use his mind in ways he had never imagined. As he completed the glowing device, it hovered before him, spinning slowly. A soft hum filled the room. Lines of light shot out from the device, connecting with distant points in the chamber. The pulsing star on the map at the center of the first platform brightened even more. Elias realized that this was not just a chamber. It was a learning environment, designed to observe and respond to human intelligence and creativity. The objects, the symbols, the light, they were all part of a system that wanted to understand what humans could do when given freedom and encouragement. A new thought struck him. If he could create this device, what else could he do? What other puzzles awaited him in this incredible place? He felt excitement building, his mind alive with possibilities. Suddenly, a new hologram appeared in front of him. It showed a distant galaxy, swirling with colors he could not name. In the center, a glowing point pulsed, radiating energy. Elias understood immediately this was the next challenge. The device he had created was only the beginning. The galaxy was waiting for him to interact, to learn, to explore. "Do not fear the unknown," the voice said. "It is in the unknown that humans shine brightest." Elias felt a thrill. He had never felt so alive. Everything around him, the floating platforms, the shimmering ribbons of light, the glowing spheres, was part of a system designed to teach him, challenge him, and observe him. And yet it felt like a gift, an opportunity to discover the true potential of his mind. He took a deep breath and focused on the glowing galaxy. The device hovered in front of him, ready to respond to his thoughts. Slowly, carefully, he reached out, guiding the flow of energy from the device into the holographic galaxy. Light shot across the chamber, connecting distant points, forming patterns that seemed to pulse with life. The galaxy responded instantly, spinning faster, brighter, and more vibrant than before. Elias felt a sense of triumph, not in competition, but in creation and understanding. He realized something profound. Humans were capable of extraordinary things when they embraced curiosity, imagination, and perseverance. "You are learning quickly, Elias," the voice said. "This is only the beginning. There is much more to explore and many wonders await." Elias smiled, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. He had come to this strange place with no memory of how he arrived, and yet he was beginning to understand. He was capable, intelligent, creative, and adaptable. And for the first time in his life, he felt a connection, not just to the chamber or the objects within it, but to the larger universe, and perhaps even to the beings that had brought him here. He took a moment to pause, to look around the chamber, and to feel the energy of the place. Every object, every symbol, every thread of light seemed to encourage him, guide him, and inspire him. Elias understood now that this was not just about solving puzzles or creating devices. It was about understanding the potential of being human in a universe full of possibilities. And as he prepared to face the next challenge, Elias felt a thrill unlike anything he had ever known. The future was waiting for him, full of mysteries, wonders, and opportunities. And he was ready. Elias stood in the glowing chamber, staring at the floating galaxy hologram. The energy from the device he had assembled the day before hummed in the air, connecting distant stars in intricate patterns. He had never imagined such possibilities existed, not just in the universe, but in the human mind. And now he understood something profound. This chamber was not just a room. It was a gateway to learning, creation, and understanding beyond anything he had ever known. He reached out to the holographic galaxy again, watching as his hands guided the flow of energy. Colors swirled around him, blending in ways he had never seen before. Each connection he made sent pulses through the galaxy, as if it were alive. The golden point at the center of the galaxy pulsed faster, brighter, responding to every thought and action he made. "You are ready for the next step, Elias," the voice said in his mind, calm and gentle. "Observe carefully and then act. Your understanding will grow with each choice you make." Elias felt a thrill, the next step. He had learned to follow patterns, to create structures, and to manipulate energy in ways that seemed impossible. Now, it was time to apply that knowledge in a bigger, more complex challenge. He studied the galaxy hologram carefully. The stars were arranged in constellations, some of them connected by lines of light, others isolated. The golden point in the center seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, drawing his attention repeatedly. He realized that this point might be a key to understanding the system, a hub that connected everything else. With careful focus, Elias extended his hands toward the hologram. He imagined a flow of energy moving from the device he had built into the galaxy, forming bridges between distant stars. Slowly, the lines of light began to stretch, connecting points across vast distances. The golden point pulsed brighter, as if approving his actions. As he worked, a new set of symbols appeared around the edges of the chamber. They floated in the air, glowing softly. Elias reached out and touched one. The symbol expanded, forming a new holographic display showing a planet he had never seen before. The planet was small, with rings of light circling it and glowing cities scattered across its surface. "This planet requires understanding," the voice said. "It is not a challenge of strength, but of observation. You must learn, adapt, and respond." Elias leaned closer to the hologram, studying the glowing cities. They seemed alive, shifting subtly as if reacting to an unseen force. He realized that the planet was not static. It moved, evolved, and interacted with the energy around it. He needed to understand the patterns, the flow, the rhythm of this world. He reached out, gently touching the holographic surface. Instantly, a ripple of light spread across the planet. The cities responded, glowing brighter, connecting with each other through streams of energy. Elias' mind raced as he experimented with different gestures, discovering that his thoughts and movements directly influenced the holographic planet. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Elias lost track of time as he explored the planet, guiding its energy flows, connecting its cities, and observing the results. Each success gave him new insight, showing him the intricate balance of energy, life, and harmony. He realized that this planet, and perhaps the galaxy itself, operated on principles that valued intelligence, creativity, and understanding. "You are learning quickly," the voice said, "but observation alone is not enough. You must create, innovate, and apply your knowledge in new ways." Elias nodded, though the voice did not need an answer. He felt a surge of determination. He had learned to follow patterns and replicate designs. Now it was time to innovate, to create something that had never existed before. He focused on the floating devices around the chamber. Each one responded to his gaze, glowing brighter as if awaiting instruction. He began to move them, experimenting with new shapes and structures. Slowly, he assembled a complex device, combining parts in ways he had never seen before. The device pulsed with energy, responding to his thoughts and intentions. When he placed the device near the holographic planet, it began to interact with the surface. Streams of light flowed from the device into the planet, creating new connections, new structures, and new patterns. The cities glowed brighter, the rings of light shimmered, and the planet seemed to respond with joy. Elias watched, amazed. He had created something entirely new, something that could enhance and support the life on the planet. A new hologram appeared beside him, showing multiple planets, each with its own energy patterns and challenges. Elias realized that this was the next stage of his learning. He was not limited to a single planet or a single galaxy. He could explore, understand, and influence systems far beyond his imagination. "You are beginning to understand," the voice said. "Humans are capable of seeing connections that others cannot. Your mind is your greatest tool. Use it wisely." Elias felt a sense of pride, not in competition or achievement, but in understanding, learning, and creation. He had never felt so alive, so capable, and so connected to something greater than himself. He turned back to the holographic galaxy, studying the connections between stars, planets, and energy flows. Each pattern was unique, yet all were part of a larger system, a network that required intelligence, creativity, and patience to navigate. Elias realized that humans, with their curiosity, adaptability, and ingenuity, could thrive in such a system in ways no other species could. With renewed focus, he began to work on the next challenge. He moved his hands gracefully, guiding the floating devices to create bridges of energy between distant stars, forming patterns that connected multiple planets and systems. The golden point at the center of the galaxy pulsed faster, brighter, acknowledging his progress. As he worked, he noticed subtle changes in the chamber itself. The ribbons of light swirled more energetically, the floating platforms shifted slightly, and the spheres responded with increasing complexity. It was as if the chamber itself was alive, observing him, encouraging him, and adapting to his actions. Elias smiled. He understood now that this place was not just a learning environment. It was a partnership, a collaboration between his mind and the system. He was not being tested for survival or strength. He was being guided to discover the potential of his own intelligence, creativity, and adaptability. A sudden thought struck him. If he could influence energy on such a large scale, what else could he do? Could he create systems that helped entire civilizations? Could humans, with their ingenuity, find solutions to challenges that seemed impossible? The possibilities filled him with excitement. He experimented further, moving the floating devices to create new patterns and structures. Each creation sparked new energy flows, connecting stars and planets in ways that were both beautiful and functional. Elias realized that the chamber was teaching him not just to replicate patterns, but to innovate, to see connections, and to create solutions that no one had imagined before. "You are learning at an extraordinary pace," the voice said, "but there is more to understand. Creativity alone is not enough. Observation, empathy, and foresight are equally important." Elias nodded, understanding the message. The challenges were not only about creating energy bridges or connecting planets. They were about seeing the consequences of his actions, understanding the flow of systems, and predicting how changes in one part of the galaxy could affect the whole. He paused and studied the holographic galaxy again. He noticed that certain stars seemed to influence others, creating ripple effects across space. By carefully adjusting the flow of energy, he could stabilize systems, enhance growth, and prevent potential imbalances. The realization filled him with awe. Humans, he thought, were capable of more than they realized. They could solve problems, create systems, and bring harmony in ways that other species might never comprehend. Elias continued to work, experimenting with new ideas, testing new connections, and observing the results. The chamber responded to his creativity, encouraging him, guiding him, and expanding the possibilities before him. He felt a sense of purpose, excitement, and fulfillment unlike anything he had ever experienced. As the cycle of creation continued, a new holographic projection appeared. It showed a distant system with a unique set of planets, each with its own challenges. Elias realized that this was the next stage of his journey. The chamber was not only teaching him about energy and creation, but also about responsibility, foresight, and the impact of his choices. "You are ready for greater challenges," the voice said. "Use your mind, your heart, and your understanding. Humans have a potential that is unmatched. Discover it fully." Elias took a deep breath, feeling a surge of determination and excitement. The galaxy, the planets, and the systems before him were no longer mysteries. They were opportunities to explore, create, and understand. He knew that he was not only learning about this chamber or the holographic galaxy. He was learning about himself, about the power of the human mind, and about the limitless possibilities of imagination and creativity. And as he reached out once more to the floating devices, guiding energy across the galaxy, Elias felt a profound connection, not only to the chamber and the systems within it, but to the universe itself. He was human. He was curious. And he was ready to discover what humans were truly capable of. Elias stood at the edge of the glowing chamber, breathing in the soft hum of energy around him. The galaxy holograms and floating devices had become familiar companions over the past days, or had it been weeks. Time seemed to stretch and shrink in this extraordinary place. Yet despite his growing understanding, he felt a new stir of excitement. Something important was about to happen. The golden pulse at the center of the holographic galaxy flickered brighter than ever. It was as if it were calling him forward, inviting him to step beyond the learning exercises he had completed. Elias approached the hologram, reaching out with his hands. The floating devices responded immediately, aligning themselves in perfect formation. Streams of light connected distant stars to the golden pulse, forming a web that radiated across the galaxy. "You are ready, Elias," the familiar voice spoke softly in his mind. "It is time to meet those who have guided your journey. Observation, creativity, and intelligence brought you here. Now you will see the world beyond the chamber." Elias felt a thrill. He had never imagined meeting another form of intelligence beyond what he had glimpsed through symbols and holograms, but the voice reassured him. This was not dangerous. This was an invitation, a recognition of human potential. A soft ripple of light appeared in front of him. Slowly, a shape began to form. It was not solid. It shimmered like water in sunlight, shifting in form and color. As it took shape, Elias realized he was looking at a being unlike any he had ever known. It was tall and elegant, with flowing contours of light that constantly shifted and adapted. Its presence was calming, intelligent, and full of curiosity. "Greetings, Elias," the being spoke, not with sound, but directly into his mind. The voice was warm, gentle, and melodic. "We have been observing humans for many cycles. Your actions, creativity, and curiosity have brought you here. You have proven the qualities that make your species unique." Elias took a step back, all written across his face. You can communicate with me?" he asked. How is this possible?" "We communicate through thought, understanding, and energy," the being replied. "Words are only one way to share knowledge. Humans are unique in your ability to imagine, adapt, and create solutions where others might see only obstacles. That is why you have been chosen." Elias' mind raced. Chosen, him. He had been experimenting with floating devices and galaxies, but he had not imagined that this chamber, this place, had been monitoring him all along. He felt a mix of wonder, excitement, and pride, but most of all, curiosity. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "There must be billions of humans. Why not someone else?" "Because your mind approaches problems in ways that others cannot," the being replied. You combine observation, persistence, creativity, and empathy. You see patterns and connections, and you take responsibility for your actions. Humans, as a species, have this potential, but few can fully reach it. You have reached it. Elias took a deep breath, feeling both humble and empowered. The being seemed to radiate understanding and encouragement. He had always known humans were capable of great things, but hearing it confirmed from another intelligence was almost overwhelming. Now, Elias, the being continued, we will show you why we brought you here. This chamber, the galaxies, the devices, they were only the first step. There is a larger purpose waiting for humans, a challenge that no other species can solve alone. Elias' eyes widened. A challenge? What kind of challenge? There are systems across the universe that require balance, the being explained. Planets, energy flows, civilizations, all are connected. Disturbances in one part of the universe can ripple across many others. Your species, with your creativity, foresight, and adaptability, may hold the key to solving problems that others cannot even perceive. Elias felt a thrill of responsibility. He had been chosen not because of strength or luck, but because of the human qualities he had cultivated: curiosity, persistence, and imagination. The thought was both empowering and humbling. The being raised a luminous hand, or what seemed like a hand. Streams of energy flowed from it, forming a new holographic display. This time, it was a network of planets, stars, and energy nodes. Lines of light connected them, but some connections were broken, weak, or chaotic. Observe, the being said. Some systems are stable, others are at risk. Your task is not to control them all, but to understand and influence them where human insight can help. You must see solutions where others see chaos. Elias leaned closer. His mind raced as he studied the network. Patterns emerged. Some planets needed energy, others needed connections restored, and some required balance between neighboring systems. It was a puzzle unlike any he had seen before, yet he felt a deep instinct guiding him. He reached out with the devices he had learned to manipulate. Slowly, carefully, he began to realign the energy flows. Streams of light adjusted, connections strengthened, and nodes began to pulse in harmony. The golden pulses at the center of certain systems brightened, signaling stability. Excellent, the being said. You see not only patterns, but consequences. You understand that small actions can have large impacts. That is the essence of human insight. Now expand your understanding. Elias continued to work, moving his hands, guiding energy, creating connections, and observing results. The holographic universe responded instantly to his thoughts. He realized that his mind could influence systems far beyond his immediate perception, but only because he was human. Other species, no matter how advanced, did not have this same combination of imagination, intuition, and creativity. Ours seemed to pass in a blur. Elias experimented with solutions, tested ideas, and refined connections. He made mistakes, but each mistake taught him something new. The chamber, the devices, and the beings observing him seemed to reward learning, not perfection. Finally, after a long cycle of work, he paused. He looked at the network of stars, planets, and energy flows. For the first time, he saw harmony, a balance that had not existed before. Connections were restored, energy flows were stable, and nodes pulsed in rhythm across vast distances. Well done, Elias, the being said. You have demonstrated not only intelligence, but wisdom, creativity, and responsibility. Humans at their best can achieve extraordinary things. You have proven that potential. Elias felt a rush of pride and fulfillment. He had never imagined that simply following curiosity and exploring patterns could lead to this moment. He realized that humans, when encouraged and given the tools to create, could solve problems on scales beyond imagination. There is one more lesson, the being continued. Observation, creativity, and intelligence are important, but empathy and understanding are equally crucial. You must consider not only systems, but the beings that inhabit them. Every action has a ripple, every choice a consequence. That is why humans are special. You can combine logic with compassion, thought with care. Elias nodded, understanding fully. He had been learning to manipulate energy and patterns, but now he saw that the true lesson was balance, not just in systems, but in intention. To be human was to create, to explore, and to understand, but always with care, awareness, and empathy. The chamber pulsed softly, and the holographic network shifted again. This time, it highlighted areas beyond the systems he had stabilized. Distant galaxies, new planets, and unexplored energy flows shimmered, inviting him to continue learning and discovering. "This is only the beginning," the being said. "Your journey is not complete. Humans have the potential to reach further, to solve problems others cannot perceive, to inspire and uplift. You will return, Elias, but you will carry this knowledge and this experience to help your species thrive." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. He understood that his time in the chamber was temporary, but the lessons were permanent. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, but humans had the ability to learn, create, and adapt in ways no one else could. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for showing me, for trusting me." "You earned this trust," the being replied. "Humans are extraordinary when they embrace curiosity, creativity, and care. Remember this, Elias, remember what it means to be human." For the first time since he had awoken in the glowing chamber, Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. He had started as a curious human in an unfamiliar place, experimenting with floating devices and glowing galaxies. Now he understood his potential and humanity's potential in a universe that valued intelligence, imagination, and heart above all. As the chamber began to shimmer and change, signaling the end of this stage of his journey, Elias took a deep breath. He felt ready. Ready to return, ready to explore, ready to share what he had learned with the world. The glowing galaxies, the floating devices, and the luminous beings had shown him a truth he could never forget. Humans, at their best, could achieve extraordinary things if they believed in themselves and embraced the gift of curiosity. And as the light surrounded him, guiding him back toward what he recognized as his own reality, Elias knew one thing for certain. The universe was vast, full of challenges and wonders, but humans, curious, adaptable, and imaginative, were capable of greatness beyond. Imagination. Elias opened his eyes slowly. The soft golden glow of the chamber was gone. In its place, familiar surroundings greeted him. He was back in his apartment. The sunlight streamed gently through the window, casting warm light on the furniture he had known for years. For a moment he wondered if it had all been a dream. The glowing chambers, the galaxies, the floating devices, the alien beings, it all seemed impossible. But when he looked at his hands, Elias knew it was real. The way his mind felt sharper, quicker, more aware, he could still sense the patterns of energy, the flow of connections, and the lessons he had learned. He sat up, feeling a mix of awe and purpose. Something deep within him had changed. At first, the apartment seemed quiet and ordinary. No floating devices, no glowing galaxies, no aliens. Yet, Elias could sense the universe in ways he never had before. Every object, every pattern, every flow of energy around him seemed to have purpose and meaning. It was subtle but undeniable. He felt connected not just to the world around him, but to the larger systems beyond Earth. "You are ready," the voice echoed softly in his mind, not loud, not commanding, but gentle and affirming. Elias smiled. He did not need the voice anymore. He knew what it meant. He had been prepared. Over the next days, Elias noticed small differences in how he saw the world. A simple arrangement of objects in his apartment became a puzzle of balance and energy. A flowing river outside his window was no longer just water. It was a system of movement, patterns, and life interacting in harmony. He began to recognize subtle connections everywhere, in ways others might overlook. But he also knew that this was only the beginning. The alien intelligence had taught him not only to observe, create, and connect, but also to act with understanding and purpose. If humans were capable of this on an individual scale, what could they do together? What could humanity achieve if they embraced curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity? Elias decided to put his new understanding to use. He began by experimenting with small projects, designing systems that optimized energy use in his home, creating models to understand patterns in nature, and devising ways to make daily life more efficient and harmonious. Every success reinforced what he had learned. Humans could adapt, innovate, and improve their environment in ways no one had imagined. Soon, Elias' ideas expanded beyond his apartment. He shared his observations with friends, colleagues, and scientists. They were intrigued by his insights, though they could not understand the source of his knowledge. To them, his ideas seemed like sudden flashes of inspiration. But Elias knew they came from something deeper, a clear understanding of systems, patterns, and connections, honed in the glowing chambers and guided by the alien intelligence. Communities began to notice changes as well. People were inspired by his curiosity and solutions. Small projects transformed neighborhoods, rivers cleaned, parks redesigned for natural balance, energy systems optimized to waste less. Elias realized that when humans applied observation, creativity, and care, the world itself responded. Systems aligned and harmony spread little by little. But Elias was not content with small changes. He remembered the galaxies, the planets, the energy flows he had influenced in the chamber. He remembered the lessons. Humans were capable of extraordinary things. And he knew that Earth, as magnificent as it was, could achieve even greater heights if humans embraced their potential. He began working with scientists, engineers, and thinkers, sharing his insights about systems, energy, and connections. Together, they designed sustainable cities, improved transportation networks, and created communication systems that connected remote communities in ways never thought possible. Ideas that once seemed impossible became real. People began to trust human ingenuity, curiosity, and cooperation in new ways. Elias often paused to reflect. The chamber had taught him more than science or creation. It had taught him patience, empathy, and responsibility. Every action mattered. Every choice had consequences. The challenge was not to dominate the universe, but to understand it, harmonize with it, and use human creativity for good. As months passed, Elias noticed a subtle shift in humanity itself. People began to collaborate more, to experiment more, and to look for solutions rather than problems. Communities shared ideas, learned from one another, and embraced curiosity. Humans were not perfect, but they were capable of extraordinary innovation when guided by understanding and care. One evening, Elias sat by the window looking at the stars. He remembered the golden pulse at the center of the galaxy, the glowing networks of energy, and the words of the alien intelligence. He realized something profound. Humans individually were powerful, but collectively they could achieve wonders that no single species in the universe could match. He felt a soft hum in his mind, the same gentle energy he had sensed in the chamber. It was faint, almost like a whisper. "Well done, Elias, you have carried the lessons forward. Humanity has the potential to shine across the universe." Elias smiled. He did not need to respond aloud. He knew the message. The chamber, the beings, and the galaxies had shown him a truth that humans could embrace. Curiosity, creativity, empathy, and ingenuity could shape a future far beyond imagination. With renewed determination, Elias continued his work. He traveled to cities, universities, and communities, sharing knowledge and inspiring others to think differently. He encouraged people to observe patterns, test ideas, and solve problems creatively. Slowly, humanity began to change, not through fear or force, but through curiosity, collaboration, and understanding. As the years passed, Elias saw the fruits of his efforts. Cities thrived with sustainable energy, forests flourished alongside human development, and communities embraced innovation without sacrificing harmony. People worked together to understand the world and improve it, learning from mistakes, testing solutions, and celebrating creativity. Elias never forgot the chamber, the floating galaxies, or the luminous beings who had guided him. He realized that their purpose was not to give answers, but to teach humans to discover their own potential. Humans had the tools, the intelligence, and the heart to change the universe, but only if they believed in themselves and acted with care. One night, as Elias walked under the stars, he felt a strange warmth, familiar yet distant. The pulse of energy reminded him of the golden point in the galaxy, the connections he had made, and the lessons he had learned. He understood now that this was not just a memory, it was a call, a reminder that the universe was vast and full of possibilities. "Humans are ready," he whispered to himself. "We are capable, we just need to try to explore and to create." Elias returned home, his mind alive with ideas. He began designing new systems that could help humanity connect with the universe in ways never imagined. Communications that spanned continents, energy systems that mimicked natural harmony, and technologies that encouraged creativity and learning. Each project built upon the lessons he had learned in the chamber. As the years passed, humans began to look up at the stars with curiosity rather than fear. They sent probes, built observation systems, and explored space with ingenuity and care. Elias watched with pride as his species embraced the potential he had discovered. They were learning to think creatively, solve problems, and act with responsibility. They were becoming what the chamber had envisioned, a species capable of shaping the future with intelligence and heart. Elias never stopped teaching and learning. He remembered the words of the alien intelligence. Observation, creativity, empathy, and foresight were the keys to human greatness. And as he guided humanity forward, he felt a quiet satisfaction. He had not only discovered his own potential, but had sparked a movement that could lift all of humanity. One evening, he looked up at the sky, noticing a small twinkle of golden light far beyond the stars. He smiled, knowing that somewhere the beings who had guided him were watching, observing, and nodding with approval. Humans had the potential to shine, and now they were beginning too. "We are ready," Elias whispered, "and this is just the beginning." The city around him pulsed with life, energy, and innovation. Humanity had begun a new era, one guided by curiosity, creativity, empathy, and intelligence. Elias walked into the night, feeling the same thrill he had felt in the glowing chamber. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, and waiting for humans to explore it. And humans, he realized, were ready to rise. As the golden stars shone above, Elias understood the greatest lesson of all. Being human meant embracing curiosity, imagination, and care, and using those gifts to create a better world. And if humans did that, there was no limit to what they could achieve. He smiled. The universe was calling, and humanity was ready to answer.